It's been a long time, 3 years and 12 stories, and I thought I'd just go ahead and share some of my thoughts about the book that I wrote as a kid. Okay, so if you're new to this channel, it does bear repeating that this series is not something I often do. This is something I've done only a few times before, and this is it. This is the end of it. We're going to go right back to sketch episodes and common sense. But if you're asking me how I felt about this series, I will admit I enjoyed it a lot. I think there's just so many good laughs to have here, and also the fact that it's really not a bad story. I mean, you really don't know what's going to happen, and I think I kill off more characters than George R. R. Martin. But I just want to just go over these points, go over all the things that there is to say about this crazy, mixed-up world of Tottenham. So, if there was one character that I adored, it would be Marlo. I don't really know why I like this guy. Maybe it's just because I can step into his shoes and experience the things he experiences, but I found him very enjoyable. It might also be because he goes through so much. You know, he loses his entire family to Blue Blue, and he becomes a sort of wilderness leader. That's not really royalty. He's just trying to survive. A lot of the other characters actually kind of bore me, like Ron and Moonster, Blue Blue. I didn't find the villain very intimidating. Rick does sort of offset the action, but really what the story is about isn't so much characters. The characters are just there to serve a purpose. The story is all about story. It's all about the plot. The plot of this story is just all kinds of insane. I mean, first Armstrong is the main character, and then he dies and Marlowe is the main character. And then there's this side plot going on where Ron is visiting these mermaids, and it doesn't even have anything to do with the overall story. But it's unexpected, to say the least. I will give me that. It is unexpected. And I do feel like I have a good understanding of patterns and how to keep the audience engaged. But I won't deny that this story was just meant for pure fun. It's not about anything other than that, just pure entertainment. And now, real quick, I would like to share the funniest moments from the book that I wrote as a kid, in chronological order. John is one of the most perplexing characters I think I've ever written. Here's just a sample of some of the jokes that he delivers. "Hey, Dad," said Armstrong. "Why, Armstrong, I haven't seen you since yesterday," said his dad. "Can you keep a secret?" asked Armstrong. "Yeah, for 3 minutes," said John. There's just all sorts of statements like this where I'm just not sure exactly where the punchline is. Kind of like in this moment. The main villain's name is Blue Blue. Blue Blue. It sounds like something a baby would say. It's even weirder because it's actually spelled like this, which is just very, it's like a Zen riddle or something. That has just bothered me in my sleep at night. Some other weird names include the Mysterious Forest, the Cave of Sadness, Nice River, Zinnyland, and the Gilo Mountains. And a note about that last one, this is called that because apparently travelers would come to those mountains and they would point at it and go, "Gee, ain't it low?" as a joke because it was so high. Give you all a moment to laugh there. One of my favorite moments in this book is when a man unlocks a jail cell with a chicken bone. Just just let that sink in for a moment. This is like unintentional comedy nirvana that we have entered. This is just perfect. A man unlocks a jail cell with a chicken bone. I'll give myself credit. It is possible for a woman Jamie's age to have a baby. With that said, for her husband not to know what was going on, not to have known until she actually had the babies, that she was pregnant, that she was having twins, just to think that she was getting fat. I really am concerned about John at this point. He's just a crazy character. It's so perplexing. No one in the cave knew Jamie was having a baby. They just thought she was fat. And then she has the babies and they're all shocked. Just... And now we come to the oddest part in the book. When Marlo and his friends are getting attacked by Blue Blue. And Ron decides he's going to just jump into the ocean and visit the mermaids. And that's what he does. He just jumps into the ocean and visits the mermaids. He's down in that water for 2.5 hours. At one point, he enters a sea monster's lair by hiding behind one of the sea monsters. And none of the other sea monsters notice him. The guards, the king. He's like a human whale or something. I mean, I don't know if you understood that when that part of the book was going on, but he was holding his breath that entire time. That was all he was doing until he gets the potion that makes him be able to breathe underwater. And the thing about this is, I remember distinctly when I was a kid asking my parents about this and saying, is this actually possible? Can a man hold his breath for this amount of time? And my parents' answer was yes. They thought it was possible. I don't understand if I didn't phrase the question right, or my parents are just as insane as I am. Probably a little bit of both. One of the more simply funny scenes in this book is when Ron is getting gadgets from the King of the Mer People. And I always see this scene like James Bond is getting gadgets from Q, and actually that's kind of what I intended when I wrote this scene as a kid. But may I point out again, Ron should be dead at this point. He has been underwater for 2.5 hours. There is no way he could be alive. He was bubbling out oxygen when he was talking to the Mer People. This man is just, he should see a doctor. There is something wrong with him. My favorite line from this book, and actually perhaps any book, is when Moonster and Rick are talking. And Rick seems astonished by the cover of his journal, and Moonster asks him why. Why would you be astonished? Is it because a man and a woman are having, and obviously he's going to say sex here, but Marlo interrupts him and points to Lance and Goalie, who are just kids. So instead, Moonster says, crackers. Were they having crackers? And that is such a perfect response to that. In fact, it is so perfect that I have decided that whenever I'm referring to sex on this show, I am just going to say that the man and woman were having crackers. This is official. I am officially doing this. Poop. Just poop jokes throughout this entire story. And each one of them are wonderful. Because poop is just funny. Blue Blue's death scene at the end of this book is one of the greatest pieces of Deus Ex Machina ever written. I mean, not since Medea has an ending been this convenient. Basically what happens is, Blue Blue strikes his sword into a stone, and then he flies up into the air and gets struck by lightning. That's it. He just flies up into the air and gets struck by lightning. And throughout this entire series, I never explain why this happened. I mean, imagine if everything in life was this easy. if John McClane was fighting the Russian guy, and the Russian guy had his gun pointing at his head, and he was just saying it's about time to die, and then he just flies up in the air, and lightning strikes him, and that's the end of the movie. Or even in real life, if Napoleon was leading his army to battle, and he was just about ready to be victorious, but then, screw it, he just flies up into the air, and lightning strikes him. You're really having a bad day if that happens. And those are my thoughts about the book that I wrote as a kid. I feel like this story is all about pure fun. It's about wizards and sea monsters and trolls and crones and magic. And in that respect, it succeeded. It did exactly what it was supposed to do. And maybe there's something to be said for a story that just wants to bring enjoyment to its audience. Maybe that's really what storytelling is all about. I don't know. But it is time to put the book away. There'll be plenty of more stories to tell, and I hope you all will join me for them. The adventures, they've only begun.